and welcome to another episode of Mömus Stuff for Car Guys. In this episode we're looking at my new car, the Lamborghini Audi S6. And I say Lamborghini because it has a Lamborghini V10 engine. In fact, I don't believe this, and I think Audi did so much to this engine that it's really an Audi engine. But I thought I'd be hip and buy into the Lamborghini trend that is going on right now and get myself a Lamborghini Audi. You're still following? Good! Because this is an Audi S6 from 2007 with a 5.2 liter V10 that was originally introduced in a Lamborghini Gallardo and came from a few concepts in the late 80s and 90s from Lamborghini with a 3.8 liter V10. It then became a 5 liter in the Gallardo when it was finally introduced for mass production, and a 5.2 liter in the Audi S6 and S8. But in fact only the block is somewhat similar to the Lamborghini block, and everything upwards is redeveloped by Audi. It has, for example, no flat plane crank. It has FSI fuel stratified injection, which means the high pressure injection directly into the cylinder instead of into the manifold, and some other tricks to give it more torque low down, and the end result was a bit less horsepower as well than the 5 liter V10 that is in the Gallardo. But other than that, yes, it is a Lamborghini engine. In my opinion, it's an Audi engine. It also has uprated brakes, a bit different styling than a regular A6. Quad exhaust, the regular Audi S-Line chrome aluminium look mirrors, and a fairly uprated interior, which this one doesn't have, because interestingly this was an ex-police car of the country of Luxembourg. Yes, the country of Luxembourg was rolling around for 10 years in V10 Audis. They also had 550i E60 BMWs and Mercedes E500s. Very cool in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's quite a nice car. I actually bought it for a very strange reason, which was to go on holidays to the east of Europe and come back and sell it and drive further in our fairly new car, which hasn't been on camera yet, so I'll show you later. It's quite new to us still, which is why we didn't want to take it, because we know from experience that the roads are bad, and we do enjoy going there by car with our dog, so that's why we bought this, which is also more comfortable than our other newer car. And I wanted to avoid accidents, which we've also had in the east, because people don't drive as carefully as we are used to here. And 1.5 days later I came back here to the west, Luxembourg, and had an accident with the other newer car. So the whole thing was for nothing, and now this is my daily, because the other newer car is in repair, and once it's back from that we'll do a video on that. Yeah, so the Audi S6, 435 horsepower, and I think 550 Newton meters of torque, if I'm not mistaken, 5.4 seconds from 0 to 100, which is fairly impressive for 2000 kilograms of wagon. It also has a 6-speed automatic gearbox, which the general consensus of is that it's bad, but I don't see why, because it is actually exactly the same gearbox as the 8-speed ZF gearbox that now everyone loves, just with 2 gears less. It already has the locking torque converter in every forward gear. It shifts smooth and fast. It has pedal shift. The reaction time to the pedals isn't up to today's standard, but in my opinion it's certainly better than what you would have found 10 years ago with the double clutches. And in everyday slow traffic in the city, it is much superior. So I can either talk about how impressive I find myself that at the early age of only 27 years old I'm driving a V10 car, or we can just talk about the car. I think that's what you would prefer, I hope at least. And if not, you can shoot me an email and complain about how I didn't flex my internet muscles, about how big my wallet is from the YouTube money. Email address is added below for your pleasure. So, on the road in the V10 S6 Audi Quattro Tiptronic. Lovely car to drive, really lovely. And in fact, this car's main party piece, even though it's got that V10, it's how smooth and quiet it is. It is really a fantastically sophisticated, serene and refined cruiser. Whether you're cruising at plus 200 speeds on the German Autobahn or doing this kind of back roads like here in Luxembourg, where we're now doing 70, it just completely takes your stress away. At this kind of low stress for the engine speeds, you'll hear it now maybe, when I'm accelerating slowly like this, it just whizzes about like a jet plane, you know. It's just not giving you anything to worry about, and you're in this cocoon of quietness. If you give it a bit more underload power, it changes into this kind of a kind of like a misfire V8 sound. It's not quite V8, it's close to it but not it. And then when you get into the higher rev range and you give it some more throttle, it does change to this typical V10 howl. Let's see if we can get that on the mic. Change back one more. Let's see after this corner. Very nice sound. As you heard, the gearbox there, smooth, shifting smoothly and fast. I don't know why everyone complains about this. I think the people that complain about it never actually drove the car. I think they see, oh, it's an automatic gearbox of plus 10 years old, it can never be good. But that's nonsense, because it is really good. And like I said, it is the predecessor to the 8-speed ZF gearbox that now everyone praises. The reaction time to the pedals is slower than today, I give it that, but once the shift actually happens, it is very fast. As you can hear, I fell in love with this car. I test drove it, and already on the first test drive I thought, wow, this is something else. It's completely different than what you find today, because today every sports sedan has the same 6 or 8 cylinder turbo, not the same but the same configuration, whereas back then cars were different. But anyway, the current S6 that is being introduced right now is a V6 diesel in Europe. In America they get a 2.9 liter V6 sourced from Porsche, but which has already been in the RS4, for example, Audi RS4. And will be a much more interesting car than we get here. But to go from a V10 to a V6, whether diesel or petrol, is weak, in my opinion. There was a twin turbo V8 in between, which was a great car. Took this philosophy even further with the smoothness and refinement, whilst being very fast. This one was not so fast. Even though acceleration is thrilling, it's not actually very fast. What else do we have in this car? like I said, it's a police car, so I've got the normal Audi seats, not even sport seats, but like the base seat, even though they are electric. And they're a little bit strange. They're not uncomfortable, but you sit more on them than you sit in them. That could have been better. Then it doesn't have the carbon fiber or anything like that. It does have a black headlining, which is nice. The police also left holes in almost everything, so I replaced a lot of the interior with non-drilled through parts. I guess they had a lot of these accessories that they had to place in the interior, which is fine, you know. It was my choice to buy an ex-police car, and they didn't force me to, so there you go. The steering wheel does have heating, and therefore it's not the sports 3-spoke steering wheel, which is a pity. We've got radar guided cruise control, active cruise control, in a 2007 car. Very impressive. I know that BMW had it in the E38 in the late 90s already, but it is still surprising to see it on a mid-2000s car, I think. Your standard things like active wipers and active headlights, like auto headlights and auto wipers, not active. Even though I think these are actually active headlights with swivel function and bike xenon, which is nice. And that's about it. It's a very full car. It has these LEDs in the bumper for daylight driving. Police, of course, had them switched off, but you can actually access them through the MMI menu and switch them on again. MMI is like Audi's iDrive. We have got some negative points as well. I gave the gearbox praise earlier, but they do need your gearbox oil changes. There was this debate. Audi said it was not needed. Later on, ZF said that it is needed, but I think by the time that they were selling them to manufacturers, they didn't. And every manufacturer held that promise, like it's a lifetime oil in there with no changes needed. And they do need them. This one had it at 90,000. By the way, I don't know how other car videographers, video presenters do it. Having the camera on the windscreen or on your side window is actually quite a nuisance because it blocks so much of the view. Anyway, here we go. You need to change gearbox oil because otherwise they do tend to just give up. That's that. The engine also has a few leaks that you can actually, one of them is very well explained in the Car Wizard video. Car Wizard, the one who's also frequently in Tyler Hoovie's of Hoovie's Garage videos. He made a video on rings of the cam actuator that you should already change. He said in the video there are 4. Audi also says there are 4, but in fact there are only 2 on the car, 1 on each bank. I guess he saw it in the book that there are 4 and didn't realize yet during the video that there are only 2, but there are only 2. What else is there? Yeah, there is the manifold, which had the plastic flaps like so many of the mid-2000s, and they tend to fail, but there was an upgrade version from Audi. This car luckily had it 50,000 kilometers ago only, got it. So there are a few things to keep in mind to keep this car reliable. Preventive maintenance that you have to do. Sorry, traffic information. But then it is actually very reliable. You don't have to be afraid of this like you have to be of the V10 in the BMW M5 and M6. This one is far better sorted. Like I said, there are a few points where it leaks under the manifold. There's also some kind of O-ring that tends to give away and split and seeps oil from there underneath the manifold into the bridge of the V8 into the valley, and then that leaks out from the front, so you think you'd have some type of leak at the front of the engine even though it comes from the top. What else is there? there's a gearbox oil cooler that leaks, as they do on all Audis with this 6-speed Tiptronic. And that's about it. The people are gonna say again, oh, my car doesn't leak and your car is the one with problems. But I'm fairly knowledgeable because I'm a car dealer and I see a lot of cars, not only this example that I make the video of. So it is fairly common. So that's it, everyone. Thank you very much for watching again. It's been a while since we did one of these, but I promise I'll try to get more of them out there. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.